Welcome to the podcast, Ariane.
Thank you, Michelle. Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yes, so excited to have you. And I'd love for you to share your origin story. I always love to start with an origin story
Mm.
of how you got to the work that you do. I think that in so many ways, we're very much aligned. You got introduced by a good friend of mine, somebody who I really admire, Jessica Ordner.
Mm.
And I knew that as soon as she said she had somebody fabulous, I was like, she must be really fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Jess. Thank you, Jess, if you're listening. She's like a little sister to me. So my origin story, where should we start? I feel like I am a very global soul. I was born in the US. I have European parents.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Asia and I married a South
That's
African.
so cool.
And I married a South African.
That's
And
amazing.
two of my best friends are Australian. So, and I have a strange accent, as you can hear. I don't know if it's English or, American or Australian or South African. But I think it's important just because I feel like I've always seen people way beyond their nationality or their roots or their origin or their language or their religion. And I think as a child growing up in, pretty much every continent, I went looking for what was the same in people instead of what was different.
I
And I
love
went
that.
looking for, what makes me relate to someone, even though they might not look the same, sound the same. And I think it's been a little bit of a guiding thread through my life, which is where's the humanity? Where's the authenticity? And for me, where is the spirituality, where we are all way more similar than different, and we all come from the same place, and we're probably going to the same place. And even though, that similarity, we don't necessarily focus on it, we don't necessarily call it the same word. Some of it call it love, consciousness, nature, higher power, God, religion, Jesus, that it kind of all points to sort of more of an inner world that is very similar. So I'd say that was one of the three things of my life. I took a few detours from knowing that truth. I took a detour into, the world of high education. I have an MBA from Stanford. I
Amazing.
pursued a life that I thought would make me happy externally. I did 15 years in New York. I ran a venture capital fund. I started a business. I sort of climbed the ladder that I thought was going to make me externally happy, because I forgot about how important the inner world was. And I got really high up, and the higher I got, the less happy I became, and the less fulfilled,
Interesting.
and the less meaning. And I thought there's something not quite right here, because I've been promised this journey of success and happiness, and actually I feel the opposite. And so began a little bit of the unraveling of what I'd been told, what my education had told, what the mass consciousness had told me, to kind of remember and unlearn things that I thought I should be to be successful, or to be a woman in the world, or to do what was expected of me, or to please my parents, or we've all been there. And at sort of early 30s, I was like, I'm in the wrong job. I was engaged to the wrong guy, or at least wrong for me. I say that very
Yes. Right.
lovingly.
Yeah.
And I was just in the wrong kind of identity, And it's been a couple of decades of doing the real work, which is to realize that, your inner world is as important as your outer world. It's not that one
If not
is
more.
exactly, if not more. But there's a real need to really honor and focus and respect both. And so I think my work today, whether it's with CEOs or founders or people who are going through fertility or relationship issues or whatever it might be, is to become a little bit more of that bridge between the two, which is, how do we lead quite a heart-centered, spiritual-centered, what I call below the neck life, where there's a lot more going on here than there is sort of above the neck. And make money and get married and drink wine and have sex and change the world and be successful. But it's like, how can you have a foot in both worlds? How can you really feel like, both are available and both are important? So today I coach, I write books, I speak, I do workshops, and I'm trying to find any way possible really to serve my fellow human beings, which is really the throughput of where I just started to answer this question.
Yes. And then your work in fertility, kind of your interest in
Yes.
your fertility, how'd that come about?
Yeah. That's it's both a personal journey and also a journey just realizing what's going on in that world and wanting
Hmm.
to sort of share, add, contribute in a way where, anyone listening to this or anyone finding a book or a podcast might have a piece of the puzzle that might be missing. And I really feel it is a piece of the puzzle. I was looking at all the episodes that you've done and I was like,
Hmm.
wow, how many pieces of the puzzle, are there and
Yes.
available for people. It's incredible. And, one piece fits in your puzzle, another piece fits in mine. One's a corner piece.
Hmm.
So my journey on the why I even wanted to write a fertility book. So I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I actually felt my child around me even before I felt my husband in my life. And so, there was this soul that was like, I'm coming through, I'm coming through. And I was like, where's your dad? Is there a dad?
Yeah.
And so I started asking that presence to really show me, who's dad. And I asked, in some ways, the baby, the soul, to put my husband right in front of me. And it happened very quickly.
Oh,
Much
that's
later,
so crazy. That's
when
so
I
interesting.
so amazing. But
Yeah.
when I really called it in, it was very instant. And I realized sometimes, we wait for the partner, and actually
Hmm.
the child is around you before and can guide you way more than you think. So I started just really listening and tuning into the guidance,
Hmm.
and like turning in a bit more of my inner microphone. And I met my husband a little bit later on. I met him when I was 38. And I didn't feel any rush for children. I just felt a desire for children. And
Mm.
so when my son happened pretty much the first time we tried, which is
Amazing.
a different experience. So at 40, I got pregnant pretty much instantly, had a beautiful pregnancy, natural birth. And I felt unbelievably grateful. My son is 12 today, and not today, but he's 12 years old.
Hmm.
Um, and then we tried for another, and we had a very different experience, where for 4 or 5 years we tried for a second child, and it did not happen. And I started turning over every possibility from the most alternative to the most traditional and scientific. And I interviewed hundreds of people. I interviewed, midwives and spiritual teachers and IVF specialists and doulas and healers of all kinds in 4 different continents. Not
Oh, wow.
I didn't really realize that it was not for me. I originally thought, what's here? What's in South America? What's in Africa? What's in Asia? What's in Native America? You know, where where is information that is not yet mainstream
Hmm.
that maybe needs to be, right? And I had miscarriages. We tried IVF. We tried the most alternative things, and it didn't work. And it helped me go inside and kind of make it mean something where potentially, you know, there are many ways to become a mother. And I
Yeah.
consider I
I
consider
love
this
that.
book
That's so true.
as
That is
as
an amazing.
my next birth in some ways. And I realized that the journey that I was on was also for myself, because it helped heal myself from my grief and my feeling that we weren't complete or something was missing or not enough. It helped me heal it to the point that I can speak about it from a very
Yeah.
grounded place. But I feel, you can be a mother by birthing a business, a podcast, a book, a baby, having pets, a school, a business, a home, a farm. There are many ways to mother and to parent the world. And the energy of motherhood is so present in some ways. And we all have it going through us. So I thought, there is no way I'm going to keep all this information for myself. And I just, it took me 5 years to put this out, because I needed to be ready, I needed to feel I'm really ready to share this, and I'm really ready to bring this out in the world. Um, so that's where the book comes from. It looks at everything from, the integration of the practical, the emotional, the spiritual, the relationship part, if there is one, um, things to try that you've never heard of, and a sort of very open-minded approach to fertility. And I don't think it is the replacement book of any other book out there. I think it is additive. I think that the right people find it at the right time. It's definitely a word of mouth book that I'm hearing about. I've had women find it and, get pregnant, which is my joy. It just feels like I'm part of their joy now. And instead of having the joy of a second child for me, there might be, so much more joy for so many more people. So that's the story behind the book.
It's amazing. It's so much came through my mind as you were talking. I completely agree. Like, I think that we're so aligned in so many ways. I completely agree. The way I see it is like second chakra energy, and that can be embodied spiritually. We can have conceptions of ideas. So we conceive ideas, not just beings. We can conceive, and it is literally like giving birth to an idea, because you, as a channel, can work on so many different levels and dimensions. So the physical dimension, of course, that's when you really plant that seed, and that seed
Absolutely.
fertilizes and it becomes like this physical manifestation. But then you can also have a conceptual manifestation and creation, and that is the energy of the second chakra. And that's why I'm a big believer in this whole creativity. It's interesting, so many people are missing out because of this misconception that we have to be born creative. Hello, if you're a human, you are creative.
Yes.
The fact that, like, if you have to reroute and go a different direction because there's a detour, that's being creative. Like, every
Absolutely.
small thing that you're doing, every decision you're making throughout the day, that's being creative. Whether the idea or the question is, are you creating by default or are you creating consciously? So I think that it's just so cool that you were saying that. And also, I thought was really interesting how you said, I have to be ready. Well, isn't that how labor comes on when it's ready? You cannot force
Yes, I love that.
this baby to come out, and that was your baby.
Yeah. And, I think one of my biggest lessons, and I think it's a lesson for many women, is I really was under the fantasy and the illusion that I controlled my life. I had controlled so many parts of my life. And this was the first time that I did not control the outcome. And it reminded me so strongly in some ways that, wow, there is something bigger going on, whether we like it or not. And if I could rest into that more than the controlling mind that, was desperate to get something, have something, there was a real shift of like, wow, I'm not in control. And there was a relief of that. And there was a sort of, there was a real letting go. And I think, as women, a lot of very successful women, control is a safety mechanism, and it's a go-to strategy, and it's associated with drive and discipline and determination and getting what you want, right? And so control in that, in some ways, it's been so positive for so many things. But fertility and the journey I went on with, wanting the second, it was a real, like, there are a few programs in myself that I really had to drop. The first one was the control program. The second one was the perfection program. My perfect family is this. My perfect life is this. My perfect husband is this. My perfect job is this. Perfection program massively had to drop. I had to drop the superwoman program because I wouldn't say I was it, but it's like it was
the
a
martyr.
little bit
It's
of
like you have to
it was
take
a bit
on
of
everything.
the badge of, I'm a superwoman. And the big one for me, especially, during the harder times, was I had to drop the victim and the poor me. So that's 4 giant programs, that's part of my life's work. I'm a totally different person without control, perfection, superwoman, and victim, right? So I don't know who I would be if I had still those operating and running my life. I'd be a different mother. I'd be a different wife. I'd show up very differently in the world. So in some ways, the challenges helped me see what my programs were that were dominant. And they helped me see the archetypes that I'd stepped into. I became a bit of an addict. I became obsessed. This
Mm-hmm.
was the only thing, right? That's what the
Yeah.
addict goes. It's the only thing, instead of seeing the beauty and like everything else that was around. So I had to drop the addict. I
Mm-hmm.
had to drop the judge that was so judgmental of myself and my body and what I did wrong. And it's like, do you see? So, I mean, it was I can see it now in retrospect that, and I would encourage anyone hearing this to go, wow, what's my dominant program? Because programs, we're energetic beings. So programs run the energy in the body, and conception is heightened in a non-controlled environment, in a loving environment, not in a judging place, not in a pushing place, not in an addictive place.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of the first places I go to, which is, what's the dominant program going on? And I've seen it so clearly in myself, that it's easy to have compassion for, what's there in other people. So it's been healing. It hasn't been easy. It's been messy. Those programs still show up sometimes to bite
Of
me.
course. It's
They
a
all do,
practice, right? It's like a
of
lifelong
course.
practice. But it's so amazing. And I think it's so important that you're bringing this up because it really is like this incredible ability to recognize that
Yeah.
because we all have it, just
No.
in certain subject, but we all have those kind of programs for whatever it is that we want and don't have. And, it's kind of like this kind of, the self judgment, the criticism, the
Well,
trying to overachieve or trying to achieve this certain goal. And that goal can look in like so many different things.
yeah.
But the energy with which we approach it is very similar. So even though completely different subject, we've all been there. I mean, whether it's a partner trying to make something work that isn't really requited. It's not like exactly like
Yeah,
on
it's
both
true.
ends. And so it's trying to chase that or trying to find, and then when you have something, and so it's kind of like an energy that we have towards life. But
Yeah.
the key thing that you're saying, which I find is so empowering, is that recognition of that. So when was it that you felt that you really like that switch, that recognition? Because when you're in the program, it feels almost near impossible to even see that you're in it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
really
No.
become so identified with it.
Yeah. Agreed. One of the things that I've done pretty much since my early 20s is I have been very focused on my own personal inner growth. All the things I didn't learn in childhood, all the things I did learn in childhood that I had to learn in adulthood. So it's not easy to do the work alone. As women, we have this thing about, I'm not going to ask for help, or I'm not going to share, or I'm not going to, get a therapist or a coach, or go to a conference or, a workshop. I was the total opposite. I was
Mhm.
eating up, personal development books, spirituality books, like very, very young. And because I was like, I've been taught so much about the outer world and I still don't quite get it. So I think anyone who is able to sort of go, which part of me needs a little bit of love and attention, not fixing, not help, not growth, not a to-do list, like,
Mhm.
throw all of that stuff out. Like, this is really not about adding to the to-do list. This is about, opening up more to your real and true self.
Mhm.
Um, and even in the book, I make it very clear, like there's lots of interesting, original, unique, diverse things you've never heard of that you can try that have worked for other people. But
Mhm.
it's, some of them will have your name on it and some of them will be like, that's not me, that's not me. So it's more of a journey to know yourself than a journey to have a baby or a journey to, understand sort of life. It's more of a, what did I forget, or
Mhm.
what have I not focused on? So even though these programs feel like they can be very dominant in running your life, I always say noticing fixes more than fixing.
Mhm.
So even just hearing this,
Yeah.
you know, the noticing of, wow, like I'm an addict, or I'm a judge, or I'm a victim, or I'm, in control, or even just the noticing, it's like you're more than halfway through, or the level of disapproval you have of yourself. So I know for me, when I upped the self-awareness, when I upped the noticing with a really loving, gentle, compassionate, not like, there you go, look at you again, take the whip
Mm-hmm.
out,
Yeah.
from a like up from a wow perspective. Wow, wow, the wow in some ways is such a sort of, it's a sweet way of looking at the program. And the program kind of, the minute you put some light on it, it already kind of goes, oh, okay, okay. There's a wiser part of you that kind of steps in and kind of gently sort of goes, you know what, that's been super helpful up until this time, but it's not really helpful, especially not during a fertility period. So it's, you can only learn through loving yourself. You cannot learn through disapproving of yourself. And so this is not here are some sticks to beat myself up with. It's like,
Right.
wow, what's here for me to see and learn with such love and compassion? Because there's a reason I called the book Spirit Mama. Because to me, the energy of motherhood in some ways has been a little bit separate from the energy of a higher power or the divine feminine or consciousness. It's like, it feels like such this practical kind of approach. And I was like, both are so important that we need to kind of bring them back together. And there's so many women I've talked to who, are pregnant, have given birth, and they say that the experience of being pregnant is the closest they've felt to the divine, right? It is the closest they've felt to the something, where they're not in control. You're not in control of being pregnant and what's happening and giving your kid lungs or eyebrows or bones.
Right.
So the invitation is to start that relationship even before, which is, wow, like, what would it be like to be in relationship with that life, universe, even before, right? And I think that's one of the messages in the book, which is that we're all equally spiritual. It's just some of us have forgotten it. And my hope is just to go, wow, what's there for me, and what makes sense in my language and my beliefs or my religion. And I feel very strongly that it's a big missing piece of the fertility puzzle, because if it wasn't, IVF clinics would have a lot higher success rate. If it really was just
Right.
control,
Yeah.
physical,
True.
physical, science, science.
Mm-hmm.
We check genetic, we check tests, we check sperm, we check thyroid, we check. We would have much higher rates. So what is this percentage, which is way more than 50%, which us as beautiful human beings have not yet realized is a big part of the puzzle? And this is not to say that fertility clinics aren't amazing, create miracles every single day for couples, but there is a big missing piece that I think as humans we haven't quite looked at. I don't know if it's this. I just kind of go, for the hundreds of people I've talked to, it was an unlock. It was a key.
It is.
It was something important. And I just go,
It is.
if it can help someone, I just
Yes.
want to bring it to them.
Yeah, no, it really is. I
Yeah.
think that the spiritual, the psycho-spiritual, the, mindset, how you see things, that when you were talking about the programs, the way I see it, kind of like the visual I had was almost a bunch of chains, or like threads that were chaining, the soul and the energy. And how I see it from a Chinese medicine perspective is we want that like flow, that energy. So when we're having these things kind of suck at our energy or take us away from alignment, that's what it felt like. It felt like sort of chains,
Beautifully
in
put.
that sense.
Yeah.
And what I saw connected those chains were identifications, identity. That's what keeps you locked into that chain, is that identity with the victim, or with the control, or whatever it is that you identify with. That's your power, is because you can choose to identify, or you can observe. Once you observe, you have a separation. When you're talking about that, that's kind of like how I saw it. And then you're free, and then you're open to kind of like that source energy.
that flows through. We talk about the thyroid because it's like one of the master, glands in the body. And I'm sure, as you know, in what I've been told, is that the thyroid is really the gland of self-expression, of creativity, of truth, of birthing
Throat
projects.
chakra right here.
It's also right in between the head and the heart.
Yes, right? I always say that. That's
and so many people live in the head, and this is a mental project to take on and to win and get a gold star and succeed. And sort of, there's so many women who have thyroid issues, and I kind of go, you don't have a thyroid issue. You have a self-expression issue. You have a communication issue. You have a living your truth issue. You have a you're in the wrong job issue. You're not loving yourself issue. You're disconnected from your body issue. It's not a thyroid issue. And the minute you see that, I have seen miracles. I've seen people on thyroid medication, Hashimoto's, in 3 months. The minute they get that, they're totally clear of medication. So, every gland, every organ, everything. And, I had to learn this myself, which is, babies are made in the body. They're not made in the mind. And I know that sounds obvious, but as women, we are not in awe, love, magic, and wonder of our incredible female bodies. We're not in that. We're in, it doesn't work, or they're annoying, or they're fat, or they're old, or they don't this, or do you see? So the beginning is just a total love affair with your body. That's like the beginning. It's the beginning of attracting the love of your life. It's the beginning of being in a healthy body. It's the beginning of a fertility journey. Do you see? So I kind of go to, wow, how do you get women back in their bodies? I was in my head living in New York with big jobs for 10 years. Yeah. And I had to kind of literally, get back into the body, because that's where babies are made.
And that's how somatic work works. I mean, I think we try to control through the mind. It's kind of like we're trying to get at things through the mind, but many times when we try to process it, when we go into the sensations of the body, it's a lot more manageable, and we can work through so much more.
Yeah. And the body's always talking to you. One of my favorite phrases is the inner microphone. And we have an inner microphone, and it's been talking to us our whole life. And most of us are not listening, or we've turned it down to like volume 2 or 1. The good news is you can't turn it off. But we've turned it down so much, so we're not listening about the food or the relationship or the work or even what you want to buy or your gynecologist or the fertility clinic, or we're not really listening. And I have become obsessed with listening to the inner microphone. And sometimes I don't like it. Sometimes it pisses me off. Sometimes I'm like, it cannot be right.
Sometimes it's inconvenient.
Sometimes I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, right? Like my inner microphone was like, you're sleeping with the wrong guy when I was engaged. Like, I do not want to hear that, right?
Oh, wow.
Or you're in the wrong job. It's like, this is not your path. And it's very inconvenient when you've spent years.
That was me, yeah.
You're like,
and it takes courage to be
too. Kidding me, right?
Yeah.
But the minute you turn that on, you'll choose the right doctor, you'll choose the right clinic, you'll choose the right partner, you'll choose the right, birthing environment, you'll choose the right name for your baby, it's sort of, that's where it starts. It's like, I need to get back inside, because the body wins all the time. The body will decide. So it really makes sense that your most important relationship is with your body. It's not with your plan. It's not with the to-do list. It's with your body.
Yeah.
And that is a lifelong journey for all women, myself included, to sort of get back in some ways. And
it's so interesting.
And as you know, I grew up with acupuncture, as a kid. Like, my mother would like stick needles in me if I had anything going on, age 6, 7. I grew up with, the qi and the qi gong and like everything. That's what was how we were healed, how we were told that energy works. And in some ways for me, it's like, how do you connect, the Western side, the Eastern side? Like, we all know that we're energy. We all know that our bodies are energy. Science agrees that we're energy. We're vibration, we're frequency. Our thoughts are frequency. Our words are frequency. Like I never, ever use the word infertility. It's very low frequency.
It
The
is.
body doesn't like that word.
There's an identification.
Wow, never.
Yeah.
It's like the body goes, what are you talking about? You know,
Yeah.
I'm doing my process. I'm in this body. I'm healing this. I'm trying this. But that is a word that vibrates very low. Like no one feels good around that word. No
Because
one
it's a
feels
block.
exactly. It's a
It's a
block.
do not enter.
Yeah, so that is a word that if I could, I would cancel from people. And it's not ignoring reality. It's jumping to a
Possibility.
possibility reality, a miracle field reality, a magic reality, a wonder reality. The body changes in half a second reality.
It just feels so good
the
to
more
think about. Even the words that you're saying
course.
feel good.
Yeah. But do you see we fight for reality. The reality is I'm 40. The reality is I have PCOS. The reality is I've been trying for 2 years. The reality is I've had a miscarriage. I was like, I hear that because people need, but I move people out of the reality very quickly to it's not even another one. It's just like, what radio station frequency songs do you want to be listening to?
I completely understand what you're saying.
I'm obsessed with words, language, beliefs, thoughts, explanations, stories. Do you see? That's very different than the fact is I'm 40. That's a fact. I have zero, frequency. I don't have a push against whatever. It's a fact. But the minute the story comes into it, it's like, it's like a weight belt in a scuba diver. It's like, let me pull you back down, even though you want to float back up. And
it's funny. I had my friend and podcast guest, Roseanne Austin. She said to me, and it reminds me because she's like, do you ever notice that when somebody says you need to be realistic, it's never a positive thing that they're talking about?
Like, well said.
Yeah.
But just listen, and people go, the reality is.
Right.
I talk about this in the book. I was like, there's a whole thing about the reality is. And I was like, look, the reality is it's not permanent. It's not personal, and it's not pervasive, right? 3 B's. It's not permanent. You can change it. And lots of people have shown that you can change it. It's not personal. Right. It's not just you. You haven't done anything wrong. It doesn't have your name on it. And it's not pervasive. It should not take over your whole life. So I talk about those things because we usually go to one of those things. We go to the extreme, or we make it all about us, right? And there was shame and hiding and all of that, which again, the body is like, what are you doing? I don't like those energies. Get me out of here. Right? So yeah. And, I say this with so much personal experience.
I think that's what makes you
felt
a good
experience.
Yeah, that's probably why you're able to really translate those lessons, and because you understand it from the inside out.
Yeah, completely. And to be, I think that one of the biggest lessons I also got was to just be incredibly open-minded about who or what or where, and to just always say maybe. And I still live my life that way, where I go, maybe there's something amazing in this book. Maybe I can learn something from this person who is totally opposite to me. So the being in the maybe is another word for being in the I wonder. It's just such a great word. I wonder, like really, like
it's
to
that
be
curiosity.
in the wonder. I wonder how this is going to unfold. It's like it becomes more of an adventure than a sort of yes, no, good, bad, success, failure. This is very divisive, very divisive.
And it doesn't work like that. Even with the yin and the yang, they're complete opposite forces, but they don't go from one to the other. They ebb and flow, and they move into and turn. And so it's a shift. It's almost like a wave. There's no like hard end.
Yeah.
It moves.
Yeah. Same with emotions. Fertility is such a highly emotional journey. And I would say all emotions are good. I was speaking to someone earlier who was angry, and I was like, I love that you're angry. Like, I really do. It's so productive. You're not going to store it in the liver. You're not going to store it somewhere else. it's so productive. And I was like, let's fully be angry, especially as women. We've never been
Yeah.
given permission. And, productive anger, it's like the body is great with that. It's like you can hold that, even productive grief. So all emotions are so welcome on this journey. And I feel in some ways, your future child is preparing you, because babies and children are highly emotional. The entire field of emotions is available. And so you better feel them first so that you're not overwhelmed by them. So I feel sometimes like the soul of a baby it's kind of, it's helping you even before you conceive and before you meet your child. And I think, the two emotions that are so dominant right now on the planet are fear and uncertainty.
Yes.
And fertility, it's like a tuning fork. It's even more fear and it's even
Yeah.
more uncertainty. And so we need to not have those tuning forks really ever get around each other, because when we are already living in a world that is not about love and certainty or faith or kindness or, contribution or growth, or pick any other emotion. But when we're already bathing in this, every time we turn on our computers, have conversations, walk outside, read the news, when you put that with the other fear and uncertainty around fertility, it just doesn't help. And
Yeah.
so I always encourage people to go, well, we have a choice. Like fertility is, there's an intentional choice behind what we let in, who we let in, what we try, but it includes the power of choice of, I need to, stay in the frequency or the other side of the river of fear and uncertainty to, faith and acceptance and love and patience. But it's a real choice, Michelle. And it is a
Yes.
hard choice, because people are going back and forth, back and
Well,
forth, back
many
and
times
forth.
people don't think they have a choice. I think that
So,
that's what it is. It's that awareness, that realizing like really where you're at with it and what the programs are making you or you're kind of falling into or identifying with, and it's hard to see unless you really kind of move
yeah,
yourself out of it and then you're observing it with curiosity.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, no, I love the question, because it's not about, how do I feel less sad or how do I feel less scared.
mhm,
Those things are, you can have faith and be scared. You can be mad and sad
right.
and feel joyful. Do you see? We're not told that, which is, it's not like one is better than the other. It's actually the allowance is the right thing. It's
Yes.
not the control of the emotion. And I mean, you in your position, that, emotions are going through organs all the time.
Mhm.
And every organ represents a different emotion. And so
Mhm.
the part that we get to play is, how do we be more human?
Mhm.
Not how do we be more perfect? How do we be less emotional? How do we be less scared? I mean, sometimes, crying it out for hours is so beneficial.
Yeah.
There's nothing weird. There's nothing wrong. It is the most healing thing.
I think that that's what happens is that people don't allow themselves to be immersed in fully into whatever it is. So if you feel really sad, you kind of like allow yourself a little bit, and then you're like, I shouldn't be sad. There's this judgment. And then when you feel really happy, you're like, I shouldn't really feel too happy because what if this ends? It's just this constant. The mind will constantly convince us rather. And then what happens is that those are like forms of stagnation or stagnating thoughts that stop us
Yeah.
constantly. And if we just allow ourselves to fully immerse into the sadness, we're actually going to allow it to move through and
Yeah.
release us
Yeah.
energetically.
Absolutely. And I think as human beings, in different cultures, um, there is a real sense of attunement with nature, attunement with the seasons, attunement with loss, attunement even with death,
Hmm.
attunement with, aging, attunement with the feminine body being revered, never
Yeah.
being, sort of disapproved of.
Hmm.
In cultures in Africa and South America where I spoke to a lot of people, I mean, I was blown away by what is not in their world in some ways. a lot of what the things that we've been talking about. But the thing that is most common there is that they are still very aligned with some form of a spiritual divine force. And it is included. It's included in when they eat. It's included when they birth. It's included when they make love. It's included when they have ceremonies. And it's like we're so. It's not that we aren't doing it. It's just we're not including it in the journey of motherhood. It's like I need to kind of choose, and I kind of go,
just not part of almost
right
in this
it's
society.
Like it's like fish. It's like they don't know they're in the water. It's like even if you've never considered yourself spiritual, it's like you are in the energy and the environment of something.
Oh, you can see it when you invite it. When you invited and you acknowledge it, you will see it. And I see that all the time. And you actually said something that I thought was really interesting in the beginning when you're talking about like that sort of like that lock and key, that one thing that sort of unlocks, which is sort of, that spiritual aspect. So I see this in my work. I've noticed it and I'm starting to see a pattern with the women I work with. I do see mostly women. Sometimes the husbands will come in, not always. The majority of people I see are women. And when they get to a place where they start a meditation practice, a spiritual practice, and they also choose, and this is an invitation that they can do to connect with a spirit baby, I see the lock and I see it unlock. I see things happening. It is crazy. The signs that they get, the specific sometimes to numbers, even like so
amazing.
Specific. You can't even describe it away in any kind of formulation. I don't know. Like it's too vast and it's too mystical. There's something that is way more intelligent than our brains can ever process. No. And so when you start to see that, like I will see shifts happening for people once they choose to take that path.
Yeah. And the path doesn't have to be weird or crystals or wearing white or drinking wheatgrass or yoga. I mean, these are they're paths for some people. You don't need to ever do any of those things. It's an orientation towards life or not being orientated towards life. So we can call it life instead of spirit, God, consciousness. Because, everyone has an orientation towards life. And for some people, it's positive. Life's on their side. Good things are happening. There's good people. They're lucky. There's magic. There's wonder. There's beauty. There's all of that stuff. And there will be a match for more of that because that is their relationship to life. And there's people who have a very different relationship to life. I'm unlucky. Why does all this stuff happen to me? Things are bad, things are scary. We live in an unsafe world, and life will go, yeah, you're right on both of them. You will be right.
Yeah.
And so in some ways, the most important decision we need to make, even before fertility, is like, what is my relationship to life itself? You can call it source, you can call it God, spirit, whatever. But really, what is my relationship to life itself? Because then life starts communicating with you, to your point. Then you get synchronicities. Then you get signs. Then someone talks about something. Then you hear this podcast. Then you read a book. Then someone tells you. Then, do you see? It's like life is waiting in some ways to show you that, there's a love affair with life here before a love affair with your baby. It's like that is part
of it. It's the whole, it's like the whole picture.
It's the unity of it. And I think for me, when I will say it is my most important relationship because when I am connected to that, things work. I'm a better wife. I'm a better mother. I'm a better coach. I'm a better writer. I'm a better speaker. So it is my most important relationship is my relationship to source, life, whatever we want to call it. And I say this in an interesting way, which is, all of us pretty much have a cell phone these days. And we have a relationship to our cell phone.
Yep.
We do. A pretty strong relationship to our cell phone. First thing in the morning.
Talk about addictions.
To last thing at night, right?
Yeah.
So our primary relationship is to our cell phone. It is not to our child. if we have one, it is not to our husband or parents or job. Our primary relationship is to our cell phone. Now, what do we do with our cell phone? We charge it every night.
Mm-hmm.
Primary relationship, we charge it. And I say to people, how are you charging yourself up? Like, I mean, this is way more important than your cell phone. So how are you charging yourself up? Is it through music, a bath, a candle, water, relationships, dancing, listening, reading, journaling, praying, meditating?
Yeah.
But you must charge yourself up the way you charge your cell phone up. You must.
Absolutely.
You must.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
That couldn't be more true. Like, I mean, that's it's absolutely so true. And that's where we were talking about before. You can kind of like allow life to dictate how you're going to be, or you take charge, literally, no pun intended.
Yeah.
You take charge and you charge yourself.
Absolutely. And you can take charge of, you can take charge of so many things. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, IVF isn't spiritual. And I was like, wow. I mean, to me, I go, IVF is one of the most spiritual things available to us, because the conscious choice and intention of wanting a child to that level is one of the most beautiful things that you can bring in, right? I mean, the level of choice and intentionality is probably the strongest it ever is, as opposed to, naturally, we hope it happens, let's see what happens. And I go, you can bless the needles, you can pray, you can put angels in the room, you can talk to the belly, you turn it into your temple. It is not less spiritual, more spiritual. Like, the whole thing is spiritual.
No, that's true, because my very first experience at an IVF transfer, doing acupuncture, doing a protocol, was probably one of the most spiritual experiences of my life.
I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Such
to
beauty.
See there and witness that moment, I was like, this is just a miracle.
Miracle. And, you're around the miracle, as opposed to it's slightly invisible and, when and where might it happen. I love hearing that story. Yeah. So, it's there, I have a friend who, she tried many cycles and she did a surrogate, and it's like the beauty and the miracle of her relationship with this surrogate mom was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. Yeah. It was better than some of the relationships I see between husband and wives.
Honestly, they're
so disconnected sometimes.
It can be any way. Like I think that we get so hung up on like the way things are, but that's not. It's not that. It's what you're saying is it's really the underlying intention and kind of like the magic in the moment, however that expresses itself.
Yeah, and the soul chooses when and who and how and even where. Like, even where, and when you realize that that is the case, there's a permission to go, maybe there's a higher intelligence here. Maybe it's not all up to me. Maybe I don't have to do anything. And I need to go, wow, there's a higher moment of connection with the soul who, has chosen to come through you or someone else, but will find you, or like that. To me it's magical when you remember that we're not just talking about a physical journey. I mean, most people believe in the soul, the concept of something, right? And yet the soul is not part of the fertility conversation. And so, I mean, in the Spirit Mama book, there's a real conversation with the soul that, is coming through, and where and how and what's the relationship, and what's even the karma between you and that soul, and what's the agreement, and what's the script, and what's the, I mean, I go as far open as someone wants to go. And you might kind of go, wow, that's interesting. And that's good enough. It doesn't have to be right or what you believe, even if it's just, wow, I'll consider that. Even that's an unlock,
Amazing. I love that. It's just so cool because we always talk about spirit babies, and I love that you wrote a book called Spirit Mama. I think that's really incredible. And so it sounds like it's really kind of bringing more consciousness into the journey and like
No
really
doubt.
seeing it step by step, like really observing all of the intricacies and also some of the blocks that you may be holding that you might not even be realizing is there.
Absolutely. It's exactly, you summarized it beautifully. I'm thinking about, I went to this temple in Bhutan a year and a half ago, where it's known as one of the most famous fertility temples in the world. I didn't know about this at the time. And there are more pictures of babies in this fertility temple.
Hmm.
And it's in the back of the book if anyone wants to take a trip to Bhutan. But
That's
there
cool.
was such beauty and such magic. And, I was like, maybe someone wants to go to Bhutan. Let me suggest
Hmm.
that. Or, maybe someone wants to hear how women, what are the symbolism of bringing in a child in South Africa, and what they do, and what they do with the earth and the mountain energy. And because there's a mother earth, right?
Yeah.
And Cape Town is known as the mother city. And I mean,
Hmm.
there's so much wisdom around, the connection to the earth and nature and the ground and the fertility of the foods we're eating and the water. And it's like, it just makes so much sense. It's not even
Yeah.
spiritual. It just
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
so much sense. How are we not in connection with Mother Earth when we're going through a fertility journey to become a mother? Most people are not connected at all, especially if
Yeah.
we're in a city.
Even grounding,
Yeah.
there's so much research on how it lowers your inflammation and
Yeah.
helps the circadian rhythm. It really supports fertility. I tell all my patients and clients, like, you got to earth. You got to put your
Yeah.
feet on the earth. It's
Yeah.
really important to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it has health benefits. It really
Yeah.
supports your body. It supports fertility.
Yeah. Absolutely. And the same, get around pets. I mean,
Oh
pets
yeah,
is
that
like,
love, that oxytocin.
it's like, oh my God. We have a beautiful golden retriever called Waffle. And,
Hmm.
when Waffle came into the family, I mean, it really felt like, wow, here's a soul that
Yeah.
came into our family in a
They pick you
different,
too.
he totally picked us in a different way. And it's like, he's like my brother and him, my dog and my son are like brothers. Like
Oh,
it's an amazing soul connection, right? There's an
oh, for
energy
sure.
that's come into the family. You can bring it in
Yeah,
before, during, after.
it's true.
But do you see, it's like none of these things are scary spiritual. I've just put them under the umbrella of, we need to remember our connection to a lot of other things that will hold and support the life journey, the fertility
Hmm.
journey, the relationship journey, which is a whole other thing, the birthing journey, the pregnancy
Yeah.
journey.
Everything matters and nothing is random.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's
Absolutely.
amazing. So how do you work with people now? I know you do a
Yeah.
lot of coaching, and then
Yeah.
how can people find you?
Yeah. So, it's my full, very complicated French name, Ariane
Hmm.
de
Hmm.
Bonvoisin, but that's my website where everything is on there, from how to work with me. There's a specific website that's dedicated to the book called spiritmamabook.com. It's
Hmm.
very simple. It's got, a few chapters that people can read just to get comfortable with it. It's got the table of contents, so you can get a sense for what's there and if it resonates. We also have what I call the Spirit Mama Manifesto that
Mm,
we're giving away for free, which
nice.
they're just phrases and little reminders of just what's true. And sometimes one of those phrases is just like, oh, I really needed to
It
hear that.
lands.
Or that's the one I need to focus on for the next month because I've totally forgotten it. Or that one has my name on it. So that is available. It's available on the website, spiritmamabook.com. And then of course Instagram, both. I think the manifesto is on Spirit Mama Official, which is the
Hmm.
Instagram handle, and then I'm on there too, in a different way. So the fertility sort of conversation is a bit more on Spirit Mama Official. Um, my biggest hope is just to feel like if there's something in this book that can help someone, it's wonderful, and if it doesn't help you, maybe it'll help someone that's going through it. Um, like I just feel we're all so in this together that if there's a way that you can support someone, or you know who can support someone.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like a snowball effect. So I do one-on-one. My one-on-ones are a little bit more broad than just fertility coaching, because to me, I don't like splitting people up just in fertility and work, or
But it all matters. Yeah, it all
it's
matters.
like who
It's
you
all
are at
part of the
work.
same.
Who
Yeah.
you are at work shows up at home. Who you are at home shows up in your
Yeah.
relationship. Who you are at
Sure.
work shows up in the IVF clinic. So, it's not, I would never call myself a fertility coach. I would call myself a whole life coach. And if fertility
Love
is the
that.
doorway that we're really going to go through, don't be surprised if I prod in a few other places that just need a bit more love and attention. And then I'm doing whatever work I get called. I get called to do talks and workshops, and
I love that. It's so cool.
it's sort of I've sort of put my hand up and said, okay, use me, show me
Yes.
the way, use
best
me,
way.
like pick me basically. And I just,
Amazing.
in some ways, I wait for a little bit of the guidance. I'm not kind of pushing it. I just kind of go, I'm going to be placed in the right way with the right people, with you. I reconnected with Jess. I've known her for 20 plus years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
She's
stayed
an
with
amazing
me.
person.
She stayed with me in New York. She was like a bit of my baby sister. And
Oh,
it's, it's just been to witness people's journey, her journey in, becoming a mother. And it's wonderful. Everyone has sort of a story that's got miracles in it, and that's got lessons in it and faith in it. And we need to share it. We need to share more of those, to realize
100%.
how similar we are, how human we are, how tough some of our journeys have been. Oh my gosh.
And it gives hope. I think a lot of people really, like, there's so much power in stories. There's so much hope in stories. So I think that that's one of the things that I see a lot with my patients, with my group, if they're talking to each other, and that community that happens is so powerful, because when they hear each other's stories and they relate, and it's incredibly unifying and strengthening.
Yeah. Michelle, it sounds like you do amazing things. I'm excited to find out
I love
more.
this work. It's so beautiful. I just love this work. It's just it's really like the best. They always say, like, worst club, best members, because for the fertility journey, because the people are just the most amazing people, like,
gorgeous.
This it's just incredible people, like, and so loving, so, like, just smart, like the smartest people ever. They know, like, so much about it, even more than sometimes their doctors. I mean, not to say more, but they'll think about tests that other people should be thinking about, but they're just super, super, super sharp.
Yeah.
It's like, so it's just
the
amazing.
awe and the, I see the humanity in women who are there, and it's like, oh, there's some of the most beautiful inside and out, authentic and real,
and they support
and
each other so beautifully, like the sisterhood.
That's so true.
Amazing. So awesome. Yeah. So I will have all of your links in the episode notes if anybody wants to find them. So this way, there's no confusion. You know exactly how to find everything. Your book sounds incredible. I love it. It's just such a different perspective, and I feel like it's such a reframe. It really is a reframe to look at things from a more broader, more spiritually based, conscious perspective. So I think it speaks to me.
Yeah, I love it. It's like taking the elevator and pushing the button up. Like, instead of seeing it from the basement or the ground floor or the first floor or the second floor, it's like, go to the penthouse.
Yeah.
And let's see what it looks like.
Bird's eye view.
Yeah. It's a little bit of that. And every level counts, but it's like, let's look at all of that from a different and a higher perspective. I like the way you've said that.
Big picture. Yeah, amazing. So thank you so much, Ariane. This was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for all the great questions, and the positivity and the hope, and I can feel it. Kind of anyone who's lucky enough to be around you or listen to this, it's like you're already so much in that higher frequency, and I think it takes a few people to sort of go, oh, I want to reach that. So I really honor who you are.
I feel the same about you
and your work. It's like, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.